Okay, and we are back. I'm coming to you, for those of you who have never watched the videos, or this is your first one. My name is Brother Lewis, and I'm bringing to you information pertaining to corruption at the top of leadership. I'm a part of an organization known as the United House of Prayer for All People, and I discovered corruption in our leadership all the way across the board. That said, I am now presenting videos to disclose as well as expose information to the remaining members of the organization. We are a nationwide organization in order to, again, show the members of this organization information pertaining to the corruption that I found. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is intended for anybody that finds this content interesting. If you know that there's things going on in an organization that you're a part of, an institution that you belong to, or anything that even family or friends are a part of, you might find information in these videos to be a red flag for you in that specific organization, so that you can do your own research, asking questions, probing individuals that are in positions of authority, to make sure that you are not being manipulated, deceived, or lied to the way we are in our organization. That said, the last video I talked about who decides the compensation of a CEO. This video, number 27, this will be part 4, is going to be based on benefits, self-benefits. There's a term that I've referred to in other videos called inurement, INUREMENT. This is something that's a big no-no when it comes to nonprofits or institutions here in the United States that are under what is known as a 501c3. That said, these videos, number 27 series, are videos that I'm talking directly about 501c3 regulations and what should and should not be done for any institution that's under 501c3. And if you do notice these things taking place in the organization or institution that you're involved in, then that's a red flag. That's an indication that you need to start looking into some things to make sure that individuals in positions of authority are doing what they're supposed to be doing by the letter of the law. It could backfire on that organization. Your 501c3 status could be rejected. It could be removed. It could be taken. Not only that, there's other penalties that also include heavy fines being levied against the board of directors of that institution, not only by the federal government, but by the state that you belong in as well. If you are a nonprofit organization under 501c3 and you have more than one location, if you're located in more than one state, you need to make sure that you are complying with the state regulations also regarding the 501c3 that you're a part of. All states do not carry the same laws and regulations. Therefore, it becomes a bigger deal if you're located in more than one state. Anyway, I want to move on. We have a lot to cover. I left off with a video that I'd shown a portion of. This is a CEO of his own organization, and they're put together so that they can share information to anybody who's looking to start a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. So they are there to acquire, to accumulate, to share, to teach, to guide anybody that wants to start one, anybody that's already in one, anybody that wants to make sure that you're in compliance with the things that you should be. This particular group are putting out information so that you can ensure that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're in alignment with the law. Therefore, lessen your chances greatly of being penalized for things that you were not aware of. Anyway, I want to show another part of the video that I had shown in the last video of the young man who's giving some information, so that you're not just hearing from me, you're hearing from qualified individuals. I chuckle because in one of them I showed a snippet a clip of Warren Buffett himself offering some of the same information, saying some of the same things that I'm saying, and sharing in that a CEO is not in charge of the board. He's not the boss of a company. In fact, the board is in charge of its CEO. Our CEO is giving the impression to the members of the organization that he's the one in charge. He cannot be questioned. He's responsible for any and everything. And no matter what, nobody can do anything to challenge him. Right now, he is completely, along with everybody else that we call officers in our organization, they are completely gone rogue in that they are not abiding by any of the laws, internal laws within our organization. And of course, they are non-compliant with the laws under the 501c3. These videos is so that the members of our organization will understand what's going on, so that the members of the organization can come together and do something to make sure that our leaders do fall in line with the laws, so that the organization itself does not take a hit. With that said, let me go ahead and show the another portion of the video.
Now, one more criteria point involves private foundations only. If a private foundation is looking to hire a board member or other insider, what the IRS considers a disqualified person, that salary must not only be reasonable, but it also must be professional in nature and fundamentally necessary to the accomplishment of the mission. But there's a whole lot more that we can say about that issue, but we'll save that for a more detailed discussion. Deciding how and what to pay your nonprofit staff is an incredibly important responsibility of your board. And this is particularly true when it comes to executive compensation. And elevate it even higher when potential conflict of interest exists. It is crucial that your organization establishes a pattern early on of doing this according to best practice.
It is a huge issue for the board of directors, the General Assembly, to make sure we have control over the compensation of our CEO, that we have a hold of our CEO, that we make sure that our CEO is being held accountable to the board of directors and not coming with the intent of giving orders to the board of directors. It has always been in our organization that our CEO gives orders and not take orders. He tells people what to do. Nobody tells him what to do. That is a huge problem. I'm trying to expose so that we all understand that that is not the law. That is, in fact, the exact opposite of what should be going on in our organization. You will not find any organization, I challenge anyone watching these videos, to find in any organization on the planet where they allow their CEO to make up all the rules, to appoint all the people, to decide all of the decisions, to choose and make all the choices, to determine any determination about anything that's going to go on in or outside or around or involving or regarding that specific organization. Without anybody questioning them, without anyone challenging them, without anyone having any say-so in the matter, and without them being held accountable. I challenge anyone to find any organization on the planet that allows that. We, I'm sure, are the only ones. This is why it's coming to a stop. Not only is our CEO not compliant, outside of the law, has violated many laws, and he's just a few weeks now, I think right around 7 or 8 weeks, but just a few weeks from being removed as the leader of the organization. None of this is personal. It is all business, as it's supposed to be, because the members are the ones that the organization is supposed to be taking care of, looking out for, or serving. This organization thus far has not done anything at all to serve its members. I'll allow you to listen to another video.
This is Greg McRae, CEO of the Foundation Group, and this is part 5 of our Starting a Nonprofit series, Conflict of Interest.
Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Inurement. Private benefit.
Consistent issues we encounter with our nonprofit clients is conflict of interest concerns. It just kind of goes with the territory, especially with new nonprofits. many cases, power is relatively concentrated in the early years, so you have the same handful of people wearing multiple hats. It might not be the ideal scenario, but it's often unavoidable. So how do you cope with the existence of conflict of interest without it turning into something that's a real problem for your nonprofit, what the IRS calls inurement? Well, first, let's define what inurement means. It's probably safe to say that that's not a word just you use in everyday conversation. In this context, inurement means a prohibited act of self-dealing. In other words, an insider unfairly benefiting from a nonprofit's resources, helping themselves to the perks, if you will. Imagine having a board chair, we'll call him Joe, who's also going to be an employee. Well, it's an obvious conflict of interest, right?
Inurement. I'm going to let you hear again, and then I'm going to explain this.
Conversation. In this context, inurement means a prohibited act of self-dealing. In other words, an insider unfairly benefiting from a nonprofit's resources, helping themselves to the perks, if you will.
One more time.
Use in everyday conversation. In this context, inurement means a prohibited act of self-dealing. In other words, an insider unfairly benefiting from a nonprofit's resources.
A prohibitive, this is prohibited, meaning you're not supposed to do this. A prohibitive act of self-dealing. I'm going to set something up for me to benefit. That's a private perk I'm getting from this organization. I'm going to set something up for me to get this perk. I'm going to set it up for me. It's going to benefit me. It's going to help me. Now, private benefit is something else that's coming up. But in this sense, I'm setting it up so that I could be the one to receive what it is that I'm setting up. This is inurement. Again, pay attention.
Helping themselves to the perks, if you will. Imagine having a board chair, we'll call him Joe, who's also going to be an employee. Well, that's an obvious conflict of interest, right? Nothing wrong with that per se.
Conflict of interest, pay attention.
But something that definitely requires arm's length dealing. But let's say Joe actively participates in setting his own salary. Now you're into self-dealing territory, and that's a mistake. The IRS expects Joe to recuse himself from anything that affects him directly, and the rest of the board should have required it. While not a good situation, as long as the salary isn't unreasonably high, it probably
Pay attention again.
in setting his own salary to be an employee. Well, that's an obvious conflict of interest, right? Nothing wrong with that per se, but something that definitely requires arm's length dealing. But let's say Joe actively participates in setting his own salary. Now you're into self-dealing territory, and that's a mistake. The IRS expects Joe to recuse himself from anything that affects him directly, and the rest of the board should have required it. While not a good situation, as long as the salary isn't unreasonably high, it probably won't result in penalties, so long as the situation doesn't recur.
Now, the IRS says this is a huge problem. Setting his own salary, he said. The bishop writes these, or somebody writes them that the bishop approves. The purpose of the General Assembly is for those people to come together and discuss this book, the Constitution. And when they discuss this book, they do not discuss this book, and they do not discuss this book, because this book has nothing to do with the Constitution. This book has nothing to do with the Constitution. This is the one book that the General Assembly talks about. They have everything to do with the Constitution. Again, nothing to do with this book, nothing to do with this book. We talked about in the last video how the new Constitution, a null and void Constitution, an illegal Constitution because it was assembled illegally by a former bishop, along with the assistance of our current bishop, now includes this book and this book. These are huge problems. But we're not going to talk about that again. We're going to go on and keep talking about this Constitution. This is the one that I'm referring to because this is the one that was prior to the last three dated constitutions that I discovered our bishop was doing things with. Anyway, when the bishop puts a law in this book that the people have no say-so over, that's a problem. He set up a deal where he himself is going to benefit by this law. I'm going to see to it that the Supreme Laws talks about the General Council. Okay? Now, pause. I've talked about this before. The General Council is the highest ecclesiastical court of this organization and shall consist of the bishop, state chairman, and others who are appointed by the bishop of this organization. Now, look at Section A. It says, the General Council of the House of Prayer is set forth to protect the work of this organization, the money, and its leader, the bishop. So, whenever you see this law, Article 15, it says, called for by the General Council, a free will offering shall be taken by the congregation for the bishop, wherever convocation is in session, whenever the bishop is present for services. According to this book, it is his compensation. But the bishop is using the men that he appoints in this book as general councilman in order to make a call for him to get paid. That's how these laws are working behind the members' back. It's being put together in these books that's being changed all the time and creating laws that's going to be in effect without the people's knowledge of it, without the people's approval of it, without the people's consent. And it's the people who support the individuals going to the General Assembly who is being taken advantage of, because the people in the General Assembly have not been doing their job, making themselves aware of how this law works so that they can take care of, look out for the best interest on behalf of the people. So far, our General Assembly has been coming year after year after year after year after year in order to support, take care of, and look out for the best interest of the leader, which is the CEO, who was hired and put there by the General Assembly. This is completely backwards. I showed in a previous video how a General Assembly / Board of Directors is supposed to work. They are there to hire, oversee, question, check up on, hold accountable the CEO to the rules that they set, to the budget that they give, to the obligations that they decide. The Board of Directors, the General Assembly, are supposed to be the ones who look into these matters, decide these matters, and weigh these matters. And the CEO is there to carry out the decisions and the choices that have been made by the Board of Directors. When the CEO comes into the meeting, board meetings or General Assembly meetings, he is not there to take over. The board doesn't just sit there and do nothing while waiting on him, unless they're waiting on him so that they can question him and interrogate him and hold him accountable to things that he has done wrong. Like you saw in the video clip, when the Board of Directors immediately dismissed and fired the chairperson that they had problems with. It's the same thing for a CEO. This individual is saying it's a problem if a CEO or any officer for that matter sets their own salary. That's a huge issue. It's a very big problem for the IRS. Let's continue. Now we're talking about inurement. This is an example. Let me show you how. When you're looking at issues where the organization is putting out advertisements. Now, I showed you a picture in the last video of the leader where he was at an event. Okay, this event. The leader at this event is at an event in Miami. We talked about this picture where on the t-shirt it says, "We get to do this." I'm going to talk about that phrase in another video. We get to do this. We get to do this. That came up, the leader came up with that phrase. We get to do this. We're going to talk about that. Now, what is it that we get to do? Well, he's talking about anything referring to his program. Well, there was an advertisement that was also put out in Miami. Remember, Miami was just last week. It closed our 98th annual Holy Convocation. That's what it's called. But nothing about any of the advertisements for Miami was referring to the convocation, holiness, or anything in that matter. For that matter, this is one of the posters that was used for Miami. Pause. Now, I'm going to read. Calling all youth to get in the line. Calling all youth, uniform auxiliaries, choirs, marching bands, shout bands, and more to join in the lively youth marches all weekend. What is a youth march? That's when the men in this book, the General Council, they make a call when the bishop is present for all the people in the building to march in the Love March and give him his pay, his compensation for his services to the organization. That's what they say. This is an example of inurement. It is also, at the same time, an example of self-benefit. By giving the order, it's self-benefit, because you're demanding that you take a program that's supposed to be there for one purpose, but you're using that program for your own personal reasons. By telling them to do what you're doing and issuing the order and taking advantage of the opportunity to dispense an order, to give an order in the first place, where you personally are going to gain from, that's inurement. It goes on to say fanfare youth love march themes. Thursday, March 27th. Friday, March 28th. Saturday, March 29th. And Sunday, March 30th. Every night, we have more and more hyping, fanfare. Welcome to Miami Thursday night. Let's show up and show out as we kick off great night in Miami. In the Love March, let's boost the Love March, the bishop's compensation. Friday night, Daddy is the light of the world. This is the theme for the Love March. We're going to boost the bishop's compensation. Saturday night, homecoming with the king, class in session. We're going to boost the Love March, the bishop's compensation. Sunday, vision continues, children of return. Join us as we close out this wonderful weekend loud and proud. Okay, read the bottom. Let's get in the line and show Ad how much his youth across the kingdom love him. To build up the Love March. And every single day, the build up for the Love March is so that the bishop can be compensated for his services. We have to fix this. That should be the slogan. Not, we get to do this. We get to fix this. We have to fix it. There's no choice but to fix it if we want to get back in line with the letter of the law. We must fix this. We have to fix this. And as the members of the organization who has authority over the bishop and any other officer in the organization by electing individuals that's going to represent the members in the General Assembly, we get to do this. We get to fix it. We get to fix this. From his program, what is it that the members get to do? They get to do this. Give the bishop their money. The whole service is about that. That is it. Now, I have said that this is a problem. And I maintain that this is a problem. Let's talk about the sanctions.
Now let's up the ante a little bit. What if the salary had been set well above what is reasonable for the job and the size of the organization? Now you've crossed into inurement. This is very dangerous territory. The IRS or the state government can levy painful fines called intermediate sanctions penalties directly against the board members themselves. The nonprofit could even lose its 501c3 status if the problem goes unfixed.
Did you hear that? The IRS. I'm sorry, I have a relative who used to, they used to say ARA instead of R. I know several people that say ARA, but my relative, we used to get a kick out of this. They used to say ARA, but the IRS, they will hold you accountable. They will hold the board members accountable. They will fine the board members. The states will do the same thing. But it will definitely not be good for the organization of which the CEO is doing this. Okay, so we have to fix this. We have to fix this. Let's continue. Look at this again. Other examples of inurement.
So what else qualifies as inurement? It could be using organizational assets for your own benefit, such as unauthorized use of a company car, or maybe company finances used for personal expenses. This is also known as embezzlement. Maybe a board member uses the organization's donor list to solicit business for their for-profit company. All of these are no-nos. Another no-no involves lending money. Many states prohibit nonprofits from loaning money to insiders no matter the circumstances. Prevention of inurement.
Members, you need to understand there's a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors. We think that the money that's going to the bishop is only coming from the members of the house of prayer. He just said it's a problem when you're borrowing money, okay, lending money for individuals on the inside. Okay, that's a problem. I'm sure many of you did not know that Mr. A.D. Cunningham is part owner. If I'm not mistaken, he's part owner of that Subway that's right across the street from the convention center. He and I think Miss Brenda Hall, they are co-owners of the Subway. If I am mistaken, I apologize. I very, very, very much do not believe that I'm mistaken at all. I haven't even taken the time to look to make sure this is true. In fact, if I think about it, I'm going to do some research. There's several ways of finding out. Anyway, let's leave that alone for now. But there's many other businesses around the country that some of these individuals in the upper levels of leadership, they are part owners of. Many of you may be aware of some properties that some of the people, they own it, but it's in the name of the house of prayer, or at least it looks like it's in the name of the organization that we're a part of. Listen, we have got to fix this. We've got to fix this. So I've said in another video, you all need to make sure that you reach out. You call every single member that you know that is not attending right now because they've gotten upset for whatever reason. You need to call every single member that is not participating, every single member that you know that stopped going, every former member, whether it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago, anybody that's ever been a member of this organization that you're aware of, reach out to them, call them, let them know, come back, come back, come back. Tell them what's going on. Tell them what's happening with the videos. Tell them that y'all need to start making your way back to the house of prayer. That is essential. It is absolutely necessary. Start going back. In fact, the members that you come across, matter of fact, let's do this. Every single one of you, send an email in with your name, the name of the individuals that you're aware of, and which particular congregation you are a part of, or that you will be going to be a part of. This is necessary. This is essential. As we get ready to prepare to go to the next step, it's going to be necessary for all of you to call everybody that you can think of so that we can fix this. It is necessary. You heard him talk about personal use of vehicles. Now, why is that a problem? Even assets, personal use of assets. Again, are you aware? We have this book that tells us what is supposed to be and what it is that the bishop would prefer. In fact, I had something that just came to my mind. I'm going to find it and come back with the next video. But we have things and rules and guidelines and policies that's being written for the members of the organization to do. I talked about all of the auxiliaries in the Midwest. Right now, they're being taxed to pay $200 a piece, every single auxiliary in the Midwest, in order to pay for a hotel for one night for the bishop and his entire entourage. Right now, I think it's 9 rooms that they're expected to pay when they arrive in Chicago, Illinois, in a matter of a couple more weeks or so. And again, all of this in lieu of the fact that he's supposed to be silenced right now. He's supposed to be suspended. All that he's doing and all this money that he's collecting and all the things that the general counsel and the secretary and assistant secretary of the General Assembly are doing, these men are way overboard beyond caring about you as a member, about the laws of the house of prayer, or about order in general. Period. There is no care whatsoever about law and order. It is now going completely out the window. And because none of them are holding themselves or each other accountable to the laws that they have broken, what do you expect is going to happen next? If there's no law and no order whatsoever, no accountability from anyone to anyone in the entire organization, what is going to happen next? We need to fix this. It is well within the members' responsibility and authority to fix this. Go back. I think it's number 27, part 1. It is number 27, part 1. Watch that. You will see a video clip of what a board is supposed to do whenever they have a question or problems out of their chair, their officers, their CEO. They have the authority to fix it. And that's what you're going to see in that video. This is what the members of our organization are about to do. Stand up and fix this problem by taking the power and the authority and the control of this organization away from these individuals that have manipulated and lied and cheated and stole their way into the hearts, the minds, and the pockets of every single member or a supporter of this organization. This is necessary because when the powers that be and the authorities that are on the outside look on the inside at the practices and the behaviors of our officers, then not only they will be held accountable, but the entire organization can and will be held accountable if we do not fix it. This is an easy fix. It can be fixed literally just like that in one day. That's what's coming up. But in order for that to happen, it's going to take all of the members standing up, learning the law, learning the procedure, learning what it is that you're supposed to do, learning what it is that they're supposed to do, learning what it is that they're not supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. What does the Constitution say? What does the law say about the Constitution? That's what this video series is about concerning the 501c3. So get on the phone with everybody that you know. It is now time to begin to stand up against the tyranny that is at the top of our organization. It does not take disrespect. It does not take offending anyone. It does not take insulting anyone. Every one of us here can peaceably, quietly stand up and oppose wrongdoing. This is what our Heavenly Father wants. He does not ever support wrongdoing. He does not support manipulation. He does not support deception. That's why the wicked one is called the deceiver. And anybody who is also using deception are also of the wicked one who is deceiving other people, especially to do things for the love of money, which the Holy Scripture says is the root of all evil. So we get to stand up and do this. Take our power back. All of you wearing the t-shirts, in fact, that slogan can now become ours. We get to do this. We get to utilize the law to stand up and oppose all of these individuals that are now gone rogue and not abiding by the letter of the law of our organization or the letter of the law of the land. We get to do this. We get to take the power back. We get to stand up against them silently, quietly, and peaceably and say, no, enough is enough. We get to prepare to do this by going out, asking questions to the pastor, asking questions to the secretary. When is the house meeting coming up? Make sure you keep your ear to the ground and keep telling everybody that you know to go to the house of prayer for this one purpose, so you can find out when that house meeting is going to be held, so that you can look the pastor in his eyes and tell him that you do not like what's been going on in the house of prayer now that we understand the corruption and we know the law. I respectably share with you that we, the members, are not any longer going to tolerate it. This is the meeting that we stand up and say, no more. We're going to send delegates to the General Assembly who's going to know the law, know what they can and can't do, know what the leaders are not supposed to do, and more importantly, who's going to stand up and demand that we have this trial. There's supposed to be a letter going to every congregation allowing you all to understand the proposal that I have put into place this year. Yes, I wrote another proposal for this year. That proposal is to initiate a vote for the members of the House of Prayer to vote for, in favor of, a trial to be held instead of a normal meeting, so that we can hold accountable the individuals that have broken our laws according to the letter of the law written in the Constitution. Now, I'm going to say this so that everybody understands. A vote is not necessary for the trial to take place. I'm going to say this again. The vote from the houses is not necessary for a trial to take place. The only thing necessary is for the General Assembly Secretary or his assistant to serve notice to the bishop so that he knows that there's an accusation against you for violating the laws, or you're being accused of violating the laws. You're now to be preparing yourself for a trial that will be held so that the evidence can come forward in order to allow the members to determine whether or not the accusation is true. If it's false, nothing to worry about. You can go back to work. That's what should have happened. But Mr. Cunningham did not allow that to happen. Why? Because he knows if there's a trial, the evidence that's going to come forward is going to implicate him as being guilty. So instead of accepting the fact that he's on suspension, he's going forward doing everything like he's still the bishop with all the powers of the office. And only because the members of the house of prayer, all of them do not yet know that this is going on, they're allowing it. Many are still giving love gifts. Many are still marching around and paying compensation, that's what it's called, because they're yet not in the knowledge of these videos. Now it's time for everybody to peaceably, quietly. Don't need to make any noise. You go to the house of prayer, quietly. You can sit quietly. Anybody gets offensive, you can get up. You can bring it to the pastor's attention. You can let them know, Brother Pastor, we're here quietly. We're here peaceably. And yet there's a member that's doing things offensive. Are you going to do something to stop it, since you are the man in charge of this local congregation? Allow him to do what it is he's supposed to do. Nothing happens, then you can go ahead and peaceably sit outside in the kitchen. But you want to know when the meeting is held. If anybody does anything to touch, all you have to do is take out your phone and call the police. Even if they threaten, stand in front of you, call the police. To threaten you alone is illegal. That's against the law. To stand in your personal space in a threatening manner is against the law. You don't have to do anything. Just call the police. Anybody put their hand on you, just call the police. You don't have to do anything. The devil is already angry because he knows that his time is up. He knows that individuals that's been lying on God, their time is up. So he's angry. And for the members that mean to do us right, who's sick and tired of seeing wrong prevail, individuals being put into positions who everybody knows are living wrong, who's not standing up for the standards as they've been recorded in the Holy Scripture. More importantly, for a leader that is completely negligent when it comes to the law, or standing up to advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves, to defend the helpless, to stand up against others that's doing things wrong to the helpless. All of this, it's time for this to stop. So when you go, make sure you have your phones ready. If anybody does anything to personally offend you, every single house of prayer, every member should be put on notice that there should be nothing whatsoever to happen to any member of the house of prayer, because we are supposed to be a peaceable people who's not doing anything to create any type of offense to anyone. All of us are supposed to stand together. It does not matter whether or not you're in support of the bishop or not. What matters is that right prevails over wrong. And for all of those who intend to see what's right, again, call everybody. When you go to the house of prayer, if possible, call each other up. Show up at the same time 2, 3, 4, or more. Go to the other smaller houses. Pay them a visit during the week so that you can bring to the members' attention, listen, there's some things that's going on that you need to know about. Have you heard about the videos? I don't want to hear nothing about the video. I understand. However, you need to know that our leaders are doing things against our laws, and it's been proven already. Whether you want to hear it or not, the leader is about to change. That is the God's honest truth. And because he knows he's about to change, instead of him coming forward and standing up for what's right, he's been doing whatever he can to try to stir the people up in anger. That is not an act of God. That is not what a representative of God or Jesus would be doing. They certainly would not be provoking anything. They would be saying, we are a peacemaking people. We do not do anything to stir up confusion or trouble. Even the scripture tells us, when anybody does anything that goes against the commandments of our Heavenly Father, we're supposed to expose it. We're supposed to go to them and hopefully get it right. Go to them in private, one-on-one. If they don't hear you, the scripture tells us, go tell it to the ears of the church. Take them back to be a witness and go to them again. If they don't hear them, then you've done everything that you could. They're now in the hands of God. But in this case, what do you do when it's the leader? What could Israel do when the high priest and the chief priests were the ones trying to set up, plotting and planning to have Jesus killed? What could the Israelites do? Well, there was things that they could do. The only problem is they didn't know what they were doing behind closed doors because they kept it in the dark from the people. They were working behind the scenes. It's the same problem today. Our leaders have meetings in people's homes. Our leaders call each other and have conference calls while they're lying, cheating, manipulating, and stealing and deceiving the members of the organization, creating laws behind the members' back and trying to get you to believe that these laws are here because this is what y'all wanted. We know that this has all been rigged. And we have a few days left. Call everybody and let them know. Now it's time to quietly make our way to the house of prayer. Quietly approach the secretary and the pastor. If you have their phone number, call them on the phone. You don't have to see them in person. Let them know, listen, I've been hearing that our bishop and the council has been breaking our laws. And we need to get people who's going to be doing what's right. Are you going to stand up for what's right, brother pastor? Or are you going to take sides with them? Have you been watching the videos? Do you know anything about this? And if he responds accordingly, then good. He's a man that will more than likely still be your pastor after all this is done. But if he starts acting funny towards you for trying to stand up for what's right, no problem. Make a note of it. Send an email so that we know which pastor is also violating our laws and supporting the people that are guilty. It's already proven the bishop is guilty. The council is guilty. The General Assembly Secretary and his assistant, they're guilty. It's not personal. We didn't make them break the law. They chose to do so while working behind the members' backs. And now they got caught, and here we are. My hope, our prayer is that they get themselves right with God, because they too have a soul, and all of us need to be praying for them because he is after them. He's after their soul too, and he wants to destroy them. He wants to destroy them, and he wants to take their soul. This is a praying time like no other time has been. It's not a time for us to be rejoicing over anybody's fall. Let everybody know. Get everyone back around the house of prayer. You don't need to listen to the sermons when they talk about lifting up the one man doctrine. Band members that still love playing your horns. If you play to the glory of God. Let the rattle of your tongues through the horns be your praises to the Most High and his only begotten Son, Jesus. Let the sound coming out from your body be a sound to glorify him, so that your sound can overshadow, overbear, overpower the sound coming from the enemy that's being used to woo the members into giving their money. Choir members, if you're going to sing and put Jesus on your tongue. If you have to sing with the rest of the choir and they don't know, don't say the addy word. Think Jesus. Even say it if you have to. If you're bold enough, comfortable enough, he said, if you're ashamed before men, then I'll be ashamed of you before my Father. If you're ashamed of me before men, I'll be ashamed of you. It's now time to stand up for Jesus and for God against these men who are not teaching, preaching, or talking about standing up for Jesus or God. Quietly, peaceably, we can move all this stuff out of the way so that we can get in line with the laws of the land, get in line with our own constitution, take it back to real laws that benefit the members of the organization and are not there to take advantage of people's ignorance or take power from the people so that they can give power to themselves and have control over all of the banking affairs and the financial affairs and the assets of the house of prayer. It is a shame. It's in fact illegal that the members of the house of prayer don't even know nothing about our financial standings. It is also a problem with the IRS that the board of directors here, the General Assembly, and the members of this organization has no clue how much money our leader, our CEO, is getting paid in compensation. We get to do this. We get to fix this. We get to take back control of this mess so that we can once and for all get it back in line with the law of the land, doing what it's supposed to be doing, and in alignment with the Holy Scripture so that we can be of benefit to people who's in need. I'll come back and see you all in the next video.